Hey everybody, hope you're enjoying your Monday night such as it is. Thought I'd do a little impromptu video tonight and see if get any interest, get any participation. This is going to be one in my Publish Like a Motherfucker series. I haven't come up with a clever title or a syllabus yet at some point. But if you are here, go ahead and leave me a comment. Let me know that you're here. And I'm actually going to see, okay, so I'm going to put a video in the comments here, and when I cross-post this to YouTube and everywhere else, I'm going to include that link. So I saw this video today by a booktuber named Gloria McNeely, and I don't know Gloria, but she did review The Perfectly Fine House a couple weeks ago, and I really liked her style, and I subscribed to her YouTube channel. And today she posted a video all about book reviews. Not a surprising, topic for a book reviewer. But I'm getting the impression from Facebook and Twitter today, and from that video and a couple of other places in particular, that something bad is going down in the world of book reviews. I'm not sure what that is. She said that she was not going to give any specifics. I am incapable of giving specifics because I don't know what's going on. But I sat down and I thought to myself today I might want to write a blog post. I'm like, well, I've written a bunch of blog posts about this topic. And I really want to get out there and do a video and talk to people. So as with all of the other Publish Like a Motherfuckers, I like audience participation. If you have comments or questions, let me know, and we can sort of let that direct the conversation. But I did write down a couple of questions, mostly that came from, Gloria's video today. So I wanted to talk a little bit about book reviews and my personal feelings about it and that kind of thing. So bear in mind that, as with anything, doesn't really need a disclaimer, but this is what works for me. Your mileage may vary. So one of the questions is, should writers leave book reviews? And this is a very touchy subject in the writer universe. I don't do it. I had to stop doing it. I did it up until a couple of years ago, because part of the problem is, and we'll get into all this, book reviews are what help sell books. So we really appreciate when readers, leave us a review, because reviews do two things. First of all, it helps us learn from our mistakes and what we're doing right and that kind of thing. Everybody needs feedback, and in the artistic field, reviews are your feedback. It's essentially like your bosses, the readers. When your boss sits you down for an evaluation every year, this is our version of that. Excuse me. So book reviews help us learn, help us get better. They also, in the world of the internet, I don't know how it was before, with when you would pretty much only get your reviews from newspapers and that sort of thing. But in the world of the internet, reviews also drive the algorithms. So a site like Amazon or Goodreads, that sort of thing, the book reviews are going to direct more people to that book. And you want to have a lot of reviews. You want to have a lot of honest reviews. You want to have some variety in reviews. And I've talked about all this in the past. So, but getting back to this original question, should writers leave reviews? I felt obliged, knowing all of that, to write reviews for my friends. Because as you get into this world, unless you're some kind of weird hermit or something, you're going to meet other authors, and you're going to become friends with them, and you're going to like them, and you're going to have positive feelings about them. And then you find yourself in the unenviable position of having to review your friends, okay? And, for the most part, your standard meat space friends, like, why would I ever have to review, I'm not to pick on him, but, Chris Enterline is a friend of mine in the real world. but I would never have to review his work, laying mortar or something. I never have to review people at their day jobs, so it's never like, oh, well, you did a real shitty job with that walkway there, Chris. You can see where that would get your friendship into trouble, because especially if he sees himself as a professional. It's the same issue in book world. So if I have to go and review somebody, I'm kind of in a pickle because I'm either, I'm obliged as a moral human being to write an honest review, but I'm probably going to fluff it a little bit if it's a friend of mine. So in a certain sense, I'm already not able to write, an honest review. It's like the Heisenberg principle. Just sitting down to write a review for somebody you're friends with, you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to give him a break. He's a friend of mine. But the truth is, I kept getting into this pickle more and more because I tried to routinely review every book that I read. That was just what I did for many, many years. I got a book, I understood the importance of reviews, so I read it, and I immediately went and wrote as honest of a review as I could. And I had to stop because there's the potential for ill will, and I don't need anybody to be mad at me over a fucking book review, to be honest with you. I hate the fact that it's so important to people that it would break up friendships and lose friendships. But the fact remains. You hear all these horror stories. They happen. Some authors will go out and hunt down their reviewers and physically assault them. This has happened. And if not physically assault them, troll them or do horrible, dox them, do all the horrible equivalencies of a physical assault, on the internet, flame wars and that kind of thing. So I had to step back and I had to stop. And the breaking point for me was another person who was a friend of mine. He just kept putting himself in this pickle, and he was fighting like a cornered animal, being like, I have every right, I'm a reader before I'm a writer, I have every right, and I'm, the great white hope who's going to bring honesty back to, reviewing. And I'm like, dude, you are fighting, I saw that and I realized that's not a good look. I was like, he is fighting so hard to prove that he has the right to slag on people. And I'm like, yeah, obviously you have the right to slag on people. But if you're in this community, this very small, incestuous community, where everybody's friends, and if not friends, then friendly, there are going to be times when, if you're being totally honest, you're going to slag on people or say nothing. Or, like I said earlier, fluff up, give stars that weren't really deserved to, a somewhat undeserving book. And I realized when I saw that was not who I wanted to be. I couldn't handle that. So I just cut it off. I just said, you know what? I'm an author now of some, middling, low level of prominence. I'm like, I have to stop doing the traditional reviews. So what does that mean for you if you want a review from me? Well, this goes a little bit into a little bit of a different category, which is blurbs. Okay, so I do still do blurbs if you so desire. Like I said, I'm kind of low to middling prominence, so I don't know how much having my name on a book will help you sell it, but it's certainly flattering to be asked. Now, the problem with blurbs is much the same as the problem with reviews. So when I say blurbs, for those of you who don't know, when it says, the greatest thing since sliced bread, Stephen King on the cover of a book, or it may even be a little bit longer, maybe like a paragraph on the back of the book, that's a blurb. So when you publish a book, depending on who your publisher is and that kind of thing, they'll encourage you to go out and get reviews from more prominent authors, essentially saying, well, if Josh Malerman liked your book, then, people will take your book more seriously than, with just your name on it. So you can certainly come to me for a blurb, but blurbing is kind of the same issue because you're asking for a favor, okay? You're asking me to take however many hours out of my life and read your book and put my name on the line supporting it. Okay? So there is a good chance when you ask people for blurbs that they will simply ghost you. And I would say do not take that personally. Do not feel bad if that happens. It probably means they didn't care for your book or they didn't have time. I don't want to necessarily make you run down that rabbit hole, be like, oh, I worked up the courage to ask, Paul Tremblay to blurb my book, and then he hated it. Well, Paul Tremblay's got a lot of shit going on, okay? Anybody that writes either has a day job, or if they're a full-time writer, they've got so much shit going on, you won't even believe. So you're putting someone in a position where you're asking for a lot of their time, and somebody texting me while I'm doing this. All right, let's see who's texting. Okay, it's not about the video, so maybe we'll cut that out when we put this on YouTube. So talking about blurbs. Blurbs are similar to reviews. It's a similar kind of rock and a hard place kind of situation, but I still do them. I still try to do them, and you can certainly reach out to me for that. The next point that Gloria brought up, and for those of you who are just joining us now, I put a link to an interesting video that kind of inspired this video. This isn't like a response or anything like that. It's just I really liked the subject and I really wanted to give you guys my own take on it. So another question that Gloria brought up is, should writers respond to their reviews? The answer to that is no. Emphatically no. This was one of the bits of flotsam and jetsam that I saw running around Twitter and Facebook today. Again, I don't know what happened. You'll have to... In fact, if somebody could let me know, that'd be great. But I've seen a lot of people talking for some reason today about people responding to reviews. So don't do that. There's actually a nice thing on Goodreads when you have a negative review. If you get on Goodreads and you try to respond to a negative review, it will say, you really need to think hard before you do this. You wrote this book. It gives you this little paragraph, and it's like, please, please, please make sure you're not doing this drunk at 3 a.m., and please, please, please do not leave this note. But okay, if you're going to leave the note, we'll let you go ahead. And I think it's good that it does that. I have never seen anyone respond to a review and come out the other end looking good. Okay. I would say if someone has tagged you on social media with a review, good grace would say thank you for reviewing my book. Again, whether they loved it or they hated it, remember, they took 10, 15, 20 hours out of their lives to read your book. So, good, bad, or indifferent, any reviewer, professional or otherwise, is doing you a favor, okay? And you can say thank you if someone tags you in social media. I would say that is about the extent of it. Or if you have had email intercourse to get the review, you can respond and say thank you. But beyond that, do not respond to your reviews, okay? Next question that Gloria raised. Should writers complain publicly about their reviews? So this one has a little more gray area than the previous one, but I still don't think it's a good look. There's as many different kinds of writers as there are people. And there are definitely people, I don't want to call them out by name because I consider this behavior a little bit poor. I think it's in poor taste, really. So I'm not going to name anybody in particular. But I know that there are a lot of people who slag on their bad reviews on social media. So they'll either, they're not responding to the review directly, which at least everybody knows is bad. But they may copy and paste the review or, take a screenshot and then put it up on Facebook and mock it, and then all of their friends come along and mock it. I don't think it's a good look. I think it makes you look really petty. And I mean, I guess if that's how you are, that's how you're making a name for yourself. That's how you make your reputation as being kind of a catty, bitchy, oh, I'm the guy that, bitches about everything. Maybe, but I think it's really not a good look, generally speaking. So I would warn you against that because I think what happens is it's the old, would you do this when your mother was around? Would you do this when the person you're making fun of was around? I think what happens is that the reviewers that are in your Twitter feed or in your Facebook page are going to look at that and be like, oh, well, I really don't want to review that guy's book. He's just going to slag on me if he doesn't like it. So, I mean, I guess you can. But what I would strongly encourage is, as you become friends with other writers in this field, or even just, your partner, your real friends in real life, and that kind of thing, if you really, really have been hurt by a review, if there's something that you just can't let go, that the person just didn't get something about what you were doing, talk to your friends. Text your friends. Have a healthy bitch session there. Lord knows I've done that. But I think that's a very different animal from the whole public, oh, let's lay into this guy because he had the temerity to give me a 1-star review. Again, as with everything, just one man's opinion. How do you get reviews? Oh, so this was some of the interesting stuff that kind of inspired me to do this kind of impromptu video. Getting reviews is difficult. It is really, really painful. There are a certain number of reviews that you're going to get that are organic. Okay, so just the number, and numbers are all bullshit, but for illustrative purposes, just assume that about 1% of the people that read your book are going to go out and write you a review. Okay. So what that means is if you're in a position like I am where you're only, selling a few thousand books every time you release it, that means you're only going to have a few dozen organic reviews with every release. Okay? So that's bad. There is an old canard. I am not sure of the truth of it. But they say that that there are certain algorithmic stopping points for Amazon. So you have to have 50 reviews to get such and such where they'll put you in front of more faces, and you have to get 100 reviews to get such and such where they'll put you in front of more faces. I'm not sure of the truth of those specific numbers. Again, numbers are all bullshit. But there are parts of the algorithm that are related to the quantity and quality of your reviews. So you really need to have reviews. And from a more, general outlook, when people are thinking about buying something, they want to look at the reviews. So a book without many reviews is not going to get many casual sales because people are going to look at it and they're going to be like, well, I don't know if I'm going to like it or not. But if you have 500 reviews, and they'll be like, oh, well, there's ample evidence here to see whether this is something that's going to be my speed or not. So you're going to have a certain number of organic reviews, but you really need to reach out and try to solicit reviews. So soliciting reviews, it's fine. It's totally legitimate practice. And what you do is it's essentially the same as if you were a door-to-door vacuum salesman. Okay? You go out, you knock on a door, you say, are you interested in my vacuum? And the person says, sure, come on in, I need a vacuum. Or they say, get the hell off my property. That's what it is. You go to reviewers, you find reviewers online, you look for their blogs, you very cordially approach them. Remember this, like the door-to-door traveling salesman, this is a business arrangement, okay? So you are asking a person, you want to be professional, you are asking a professional, even if they're not, even if they don't make their money from reviews. Treat them like a professional because you want to be treated like a professional. You reach out very cordially. You tell them what your book is, why they might like it, because hopefully you've read some of their previous reviews, and essentially you cold call them with an email. If they say yes, great. If they say no, oh well. But with that process, again, it's going to be approaching reviewers. You're going to have a little bit more success than waiting for organic reviews, but it's still a very low rate of success. So I'd say maybe 10% of reviewers as opposed to 1% of general readers. Maybe 10% of solicited reviewers will actually, in the end, come through with a review. It's great. It's 10 times as much as the average reviewer. But again, that means you're going to have to send out 100 emails if you want 10 reviews. So that's how you get reviews. You can sort of make just general pleas. I find that that's not very effective. It can be effective if you catch the right person on the right day and you say, hey, everybody, remember to review The Perfectly Fine House. Sometimes, if I just put that up on Facebook, maybe it catches somebody's eye who read it. But really, you have to put the book into the hands of the people that you want to have it. So one of the other things that Gloria was talking about, what is a reviewer's obligation to the author? What is the author's obligation to the reviewer? So I think this was what really had her pulling her hair out, as far as I could tell. So I already mentioned you have to treat this like a business deal, okay? And there's no money being exchanged. Okay, and maybe I should get into that. I do not recommend paying for reviews. I think paid reviews immediately are a sleazy thing, because if I pay for a review and you give me a bad review, I'm going to be pissed, because where did my money go, right? So I think paid reviewers have every incentive in the world to write bullshit reviews and just hand out 5 stars. So that's no better than, like we said at the beginning. Why do you want reviews? You want reviews so you get better as an author. And you want reviews so that people have a real, outlook, a real blueprint of what kind of people like your book. So bullshit reviews help no one. They don't help the reader considering picking it up. They don't help you, because they're just going to say you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. So, that being said, there's no money being exchanged. You're essentially asking a favor of a fellow professional. It's a business arrangement. You're saying, if you are interested, sir or madam, would you do me the favor of reading my book in exchange for a free copy of my book? And that is all it is. That is it at the root. That's the whole thing. Okay? You are giving someone an opportunity to read your book for free in exchange for the opportunity to get a review. So, if you don't get a review at the end of this process, oh well, you asked somebody a favor and they didn't deliver. Okay? No money was exchanged. No promises were made. No contracts were signed. And I'm probably going to keep stressing that as we go along. You haven't contracted with these people. The reviewer owes you nothing. You are asking them a favor. Don't get all high and mighty because you gave them a free copy of your book, okay? An ebook doesn't cost anybody anything, okay? You weren't out, $2.99 or whatever. You didn't give up $3 worth of value in your day, okay? You gave away something that was free in the hopes of getting something that was essentially free. And yeah, bearing in mind, okay, everybody's actually putting work in on both ends, okay? I think the writers tend to fail to realize, or maybe recognize, as they're going through the process, that reviewers have to give up their time, okay? They have the reading time, then they have the posting time, then potentially they're creating GIFs, they're creating photos, montages, videos, okay? That's just their free time, okay? You have not paid them. They're doing you a favor. So I really wish that writers would bear in mind. And you know, I'm not a reviewer. Like I said at the beginning, I have not been for many years. But I know many reviewers, and I know how they work, and I know that what they do is out of a love of literature. Okay, they want to spread the good word about good books, about indie books. You know, generally is what we're speaking about. Um, so I wish more people would bear that in mind and just remember that the reviewer is taking the time out of their day to do you a favor. Okay. Um, Now, I don't think that the opposite is true. I think reviewers are well aware of how much time readers put in, or rather, writers put into crafting their books. But it's the reviewer is not the person that is asking for a favor. Okay, um, I'm just I apologize. I'm being a little bit facetious here, but the truth is, I just see so much bad behavior amongst authors, and it's primarily amongst the authors, okay? There's not a lot of bad behavior amongst the reviewers. Yeah, they can be a little, cliquish and a little catty sometimes, but they're not out to ruin people's careers, they're not reviewing you out of spite or something. Um, Look, it can take me sometimes a couple of weeks to read a book. Okay, I'm a very very slow reader, and it feels strange admitting that when I'm an author, but I don't take so much time out of my day to sit down and read a book. Um, if I was running a review site, and God help me if I was, because it would just be backlog all the time. You could potentially hand me a book, and if I started it that day, it might be 6 weeks before I'm done, depending on the length of the book. I just picked up, I just started listening to the second book in the Name of the Wind series by Patrick Rothfuss. This book is a 42-hour audiobook, and I love it, and I'm really invested in it, and I am not listening to it for an hour a day, okay? So that's like, what, 84 days? If I buckle down and listen to nothing else but, that book during my showers and that kind of thing, I might get it done in 3 months, okay? So the other thing is, these reviewers, they're not picking your book up off the pile as soon as they receive it, okay? They have a TBR pile as thick as ours, okay? I don't just have a TBR pile. I have a TBR bookshelf, okay? I have hundreds of books here because, like I said, I'm a slow reader, and, I like to buy books to support my friends, and I also just like to buy books sometimes. So that was the other thing that this reviewer, Gloria McNeely, I keep name checking her, just kind of because she's keeping me on the straight and narrow. And if you guys have questions, you can go ahead and leave them in the comments, and I'll address some of that more specifically. But one of the things she was talking about was, should a reviewer feel bad because they picked up the latest Stephen King instead of the latest, who's the nearest indie author? Summer Cannon, okay? So should I feel bad because I was really excited that If It Bleeds, It Leads came out, and I put aside Killer Chronicles for that? Well, no. Why the hell should you feel bad? If reading... That's the other thing with reviewers. I think they get to a point where reading becomes a chore and not pleasure anymore. We all got into this, readers and writers alike, because writers are readers, they have to be, out of the love of the printed word, And if you are taking books and saying that you need to read and review indie books because Stephen King doesn't need it. Okay, well, yeah, no shit, Stephen King doesn't need it. But you need to read for pleasure. You need to read what's calling to you. If you let it become a chore, then every book is going to become a chore. So you need to have some of that brain candy sometimes. I hate this because I didn't even know that this was a debate that was going on. I never heard that before today. But no, absolutely not. You should not prioritize indies because they're indies. You should prioritize the books that you want to read. Okay? And if you have some kind of a system that you've agreed to as a book reviewer, great. Stick by that system. But don't feel obliged to it. Again, you're doing us a favor. I'm speaking to the reviewers here. You are doing the authors a favor, and I wish more authors understood that. So then she said, okay, so what's the reviewer's obligation to the author? It's nothing, really. I don't think they should follow through on what they say they're going to do. Yes, if you post some kind of rules and regulations for your site about what you want and what you will do, and you make some guarantees there, then yeah, you should be as good as your word. But what I see 99% of the time on these sites is, if I choose to read your book, I may choose to leave a review. And that's it. That's all that they promise, okay? So, should the author, are they obliged to let you know that they did not finish? No. Okay? That's a whole other road that, why do these people want to be yelled at? They're going to be like, well, why didn't you? The author's going to be like, well, why didn't you finish my book? It's a staggering work of genius. Yeah, okay, buddy. You're the greatest genius since Faulkner. No, you should not feel obliged to... You should not feel obliged to do anything you didn't promise to do. Okay? So I don't feel like you have to respond and say, did not finish. I don't feel like you have to respond and say, time frames. Oh, sorry, I moved the initial time frame. Okay, I get it. We're in a pandemic. We're all living life. I don't think the reviewer really has any obligations as far as that goes. What is the author's obligation to the reviewer? Again, you're not signing a contract. You're asking for a favor. I think it's good form, if you request a review, to share that review. Should you feel obliged to share a bad review? No. I also don't get my, knickers in a twist about getting a bad review. I'll share bad reviews as soon as share a good one. I like honest reviews. I mean, I don't like somebody attacking me personally. And that was another matter that sort of came up. So I think that there is a certain amount of obligation. We've all seen these reviews where they don't talk about the book at all. They just talk about the author's political beliefs or religious beliefs, or if the author chose to swear and you are religious and you don't like swearing, you might say, well, 1 star for that book. Or, petty things like the author's appearance, or as many things as has nothing to do with the book as you can imagine have been used as justification for reviews. So, again, like I said earlier, pop a beer, get on the internet with your friends, and have a closed chat, and slag off on that dummy. Don't do it publicly. But at the end of the day, forget it. Because if somebody left a bad review, I mean bad in the sense of poorly written, poorly thought out and poorly written, that's going to reach its own level. It's not going to inspire anyone to pick up your book. People are going to read that review and they're going to say, oh, well, the reviewer was an idiot. Moving on. They might read it out of perverse fascination, but they're not going to take it seriously. This is the thing. You only hear it from new authors, but new authors kind of get bent around the axle and say, if you left a bad review, you are physically ripping the bread out of my children's mouths because I can't recover from a bad review. Well, dude, if you can't recover from one bad review, then I don't know how you're fucking feeding your kids, okay? It's ridiculous. It is a ridiculous assertion, okay? You're going to get bad reviews, and it doesn't really affect your sales that much. Okay, so if you have one bad review and you only had 2 reviews and it screwed up your entire algorithm, you're doing something wrong. Okay, but if you get 1 review and you have 50 good reviews to offset it, why feel bad about it? You need to have that other perspective. People think differently in this world. I know it's astonishing to believe. Um, so I do feel that reviewers have an obligation to be honest, and that's between you and you know that's why they call it the honesty system, right? The honor system, rather, right? It's just like, have you been honest about this book? Are you slagging the author because you know he's a conservative, or are you slagging the author because you know he's a liberal? I think that's untoward. I think it should not be done. But I know that it does happen a lot. So, why take the culture wars into our Amazon review? Why, leave that out of it. Leave a person's appearance and beliefs and religion and stuff out of the equation, please. That's the only thing I would say is a reviewer's obligation, is to be honest and sincere and review the fucking book. Don't review the FedEx driver who delivered the book. Don't review the packaging. Don't review what you think the author's like. Don't review the fact that the author, didn't shake your hand firmly enough at a signing or something. Leave all that stuff out of it. That's the only thing I would say is an obligation that the reviewer has. And as far as the author's obligations, it's not that much. It's, provide the book, share it. I don't understand people who don't share their own book reviews, because that's the whole reason to get them, is to share them and spread the word about your book. And then the last question that I'll get into, if you guys have any other questions, like I said, leave them in the comments. But, I tried to do this a little bit impromptu, so maybe we'll get a little more viewership when I put this up on YouTube and that kind of thing. But not too many comments here, so we'll probably, trail off here in a minute. But the last thing that Gloria was talking about was, should you follow up? This is kind of a tricky question. But generally the answer is no. Like I was saying before, everybody has lives, and the book review, Jim Bob's book review site is probably not Jim Bob's, like I said, it's not putting any food in his kids' mouths. It's not making him any money. He's doing it for the love of literature. His time, first of all, his time is going to have to go towards working and the family and his health and everything else that's, important to the rest of us. The book review site is probably a fun afterthought, a fun hobby, I don't think reviewers, like I said, reviewers generally don't promise things. Now, there is a situation, so sometimes what people will do is you'll have an ARC, which is an advanced reading copy. And if you send a reviewer an ARC, you can request that they have the review done before release date. So that's nice. It looks good to have a bunch of reviews already on the website prior to release. Then when release happens, everybody goes, oh, there's already reviews of this book. I already know whether I will want it or not. So you can request that, and some reviewers will attempt to honor that request. But if they don't review your ARC in time and you don't have a signed contract in hand, what the hell are you complaining about? I mean, I apologize. I'm getting a little heated, and I'm kind of fighting with a straw man here, and I know that nobody's really saying these things, but what aggravates me is that I've seen this stuff. I keep seeing that. I've been at this for 7 years. I've been published for 7 years. I have been trying to get published for a lot longer than that. I've been around. I've been following. I've followed the whole ebook revolution almost from its inception. And I've seen all this bad behavior, and it's always the authors. I'm sorry, it's just sometimes, like I said earlier, sometimes reviewers can be dickish, but that's about the extent of it. The bad stuff, the like get arrested stuff, is always the authors, like taking their work entirely too seriously. It's like, come on, guys, we're not Jonathan Franzen, and even Jonathan Franzen should probably take a fucking chill pill. Okay, you're not the greatest fucking writer who ever lived, you know. Um, there's stories. There's stories about zombies and shit. That's what we do. It's nothing, end of the world. Yeah, great literature can lift us all up, and even crappy literature can lift us up and lift our spirits and make us happy or joyful or scared or excited for a day. But my God, get a grip. Like a bad review is not going to destroy your career. If you have 500 bad reviews, it's because you wrote a bad book. Okay, it's not because 500 people are out to get you. That's a lesson that could be exported to other arenas. I'm thinking particularly the political arena right now. But yeah, I really this is a fascinating subject, and I could go on about it. But I think I've kind of addressed some of the more pertinent issues that people are talking about today. I guess the other thing, I was kind of busting Summer Cannon's chops on the Ghostwriters podcast this past week. A lot of them were talking about not reading the reviews. So I did want to address that. I did bust Summer's chops last night, and I said, oh, yeah, you never read your reviews. But I was just joshing with her. This is kind of a touchy subject, and I cannot speak for all authors. So I'll just speak for myself. I read all my reviews, sometimes obsessively. Like I said, I want to hear what people think. I want to hear what my audience thinks. I want to know if I am reaching my audience, like if the people that I want to know what my audience consists of. I want to know what, maybe not necessarily the demographics, but like, am I reaching the right kinds of readers? Am I just reaching the diehards who would pick up any book that you handed to them, or am I reaching some of the more reluctant readers? Am I reaching, yeah, maybe demographics comes into a little bit, because it's like, well, are you writing racist things that, or are you writing homophobic things or something like that because you don't know any better, and your audience is so, closed that you never hear an idea outside of, straight white cisgender guys or whatever. Like, are you getting a diversity of opinions? So yeah, I always read my reviews. I think a lot of people, and this is why I was busting Summer's chops. Hi, Summer. Hope you're watching. I think some people think that the correct answer, or the like artistic, answer, is to say, "Oh no, I never read my reviews. I'm far too good for that. I'm far too busy writing the next book." And those are the kind of people I want to be like, get over yourselves. I know you're fucking reading your reviews. I don't want to get in trouble with people, but I have first-hand knowledge of some of the most popular authors in the world who have gone on record. I have first-hand knowledge that they read their reviews. And those are the kind of people that also like to be like, oh, no, I couldn't possibly read my reviews. I haven't the time for it. But what Summer and Mary and Matt and the guys on the Ghostwriters podcast brought up that I had not thought about before was the emotional toll that reading reviews can take on you. So for me, I don't have any ego in it anymore. I mean, obviously, I am egotistical, because you have to be egotistical to a certain extent to feel like people are interested in your words and want to read your words. So yeah, of course, I have that normal, writer's ego, and I like to puff myself up sometimes. But when it comes to reviews, I've been rejected so many times by far better people. That sounded egotistical. Speaking of egotistical, but no, I've been rejected by people whose opinions I gave a shit about. That so many times that I can no longer get worked up about One Star Larry's, complaint about the FedEx driver was wearing the wrong color of shorts. Okay, I don't get worked up about it. I like to read the reviews and take away my takeaways to improve my rating. But the thing that Summer and Mary and them brought up was that not everybody is like that. Not everybody has that thick skin. So when you have a lot emotionally invested in a particular work, if you feel that that work was really you bleeding onto the page, then when somebody slags it, it's like they're slagging you. And even, people are emotional creatures and handle emotions different ways. Even if you don't necessarily feel like you were bleeding on the page for that particular book, it's still something that you crafted and took a lot of time on, and it can feel like a personal attack, even when it's not a personal attack and they're just attacking your book. One of the rather pat and uninspired rules of writing that people like to use is book is not baby. But the reason why that's a rule is because your default as an author is the book's my baby. Don't make fun of my baby. You wouldn't tolerate it as a parent if somebody slapped your kid around or corrected your kid. Parents hate that shit. So that had not occurred to me. They made a really good point with that. So there are certainly reasons why, for your own mental health and well-being, you should not read the reviews. So what I would say to address that matter, I think I kind of covered the gamut there. I think be aware of your health and be aware of your well-being. I think you need to identify that you are that kind of person, okay? And what I would recommend in that case, and I have heard this before, so I'm not just talking out my ass, rather than read your own reviews, have a partner or a trusted loved one or family member or whatever, so they are a little bit away from it. Like, they still care about you, but they're probably not taking your book reviews nearly as seriously as you are, if you are that type of person. Find a partner or a loved one or somebody who's willing to do it, and have them read the reviews for you, okay, and give you a little bit of a digest. So they don't necessarily have to tell you every crappy thing One Star Larry said, but they may be able to tell you, in general, people didn't like the prologue. Maybe get rid of the prologue next time, okay? So that's a way that you can still get the good, like I said at the top of the hour, the good part of reviewing is that you improve as a writer, and people know what they're buying as the potential customers. So I would say having somebody else read them and give you a digest of what the general consensus is, you can still improve as a writer that way. I would recommend. If you feel that you're up to it emotionally, like you're not going to take it too much to heart, I recommend you read your reviews. And if you're the kind of person that's like, blah, 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 why do I never read the reviews because I haven't the time, then go fuck yourself with a pole. That's my opinion. So yeah, I hopefully covered some interesting ground here. Thanks to those of you who came out and watched live. Hopefully we will get a little more traction. I'll be posting this to YouTube and my blog probably at some point in the next couple of days here. So I hope you guys found it edifying, and I haven't done Publish Like a Motherfucker probably 6 months. I did a couple of them, yeah, around the beginning of the pandemic. I was, trying to figure out new ways to do this. I do love doing it, and I thought I would do it tonight, partially as kind of a test balloon to see if there's interest in it being impromptu. Um, but I would much rather address the topics that you guys want to talk about and have more of a collaborative, audience directed conversation rather than just talk at you and hope you're getting something out of it. So if you have any topics that you'd like me to talk about, or if you have any guests that you'd like me to bring in and maybe talk about topics together, just shoot me an email. I'm very available. If you go to my blog, which is manuscriptsburn.blogspot.com, all my contact info is on there. Or leave it in the comments, or wherever. Like I said, I'm as obsessive about my comments and social media and stuff as I am about reading the reviews. So let me know if you guys want to do another one of these and what topics you'd like to cover, and maybe we'll put a little more thought and preparation into it. That makes it sound like I just wasted all your time, didn't it? But I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know if and when you want to do more Publish Like a Motherfuckers, and I will talk to you all soon. Okay, thanks everybody.